Okay, guys, part two. We've had a break, and we're at the Connecting Melbourne event. The Connecting series is a series of events based on a city. Today it's Melbourne, and there's two people from that host city, myself and Anne-Marie, and other special guests. And today we have Julian Smit calling in from Toronto to talk about how to bring it all together in a sort of an integrated marketing system. You don't have to focus on one about trying to do a bit of everything. And even though that sounds quite complex, Julian's going to bring it down and tell you what sites do what and which sites are best. So Julian, over to you and tell me, why is this idea of an integrated marketing system so important?
Well, first of all, Keith, thank you so much and to Monique and Marie and everyone who's been involved in this and for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always nice to be involved with veterans and experienced experts in different fields like this. So thanks again for having me. So why is it so important? Well, let me I'll jump through actually really, because that's one of the first slides that addresses that question. So this is what, I'll just quickly give you the overview of what I'll be talking about. One is, why multiple platforms, and that's directly to your question. And then I'm also going to talk about how to prioritize, because I think Jeff made a very good point that no one individual can actually be omnipresent. And there's just too much going on, and it's hard to be an expert in everything. You can't today. So without a doubt, some prioritizing has to be done. How do you consolidate your efforts so that you can achieve that? And then at the end, I'm sharing some tools and tips and tricks that I use. So let's go to your question now, finally, which is why multiple platforms? And the reason why I brought up this slide in terms of the new versus traditional. So let's go back to a time before the internet ever existed. How did businesses promote themselves, and how did you get the impression that they were a big, successful, reputable business? Well, the best way was that they had ads, and you'd see them on TV, and maybe you'd see a little snippet of them in the newspaper, and you'd see them, you maybe hear an ad on the radio and maybe in magazines and so forth. And from that collectively, you would say, geez, I keep seeing these guys. There must be something to that. Yeah. And that really is at the heart of why. Why do you want to be on multiple platforms? Because most people do use multiple platforms. Most people, most people search on Google, even if they're not on Facebook. A lot of people have Messenger. Some people are on Instagram and so forth. So that omnipresence, or that multiple presence, really starts to drive home a brand. And let me quickly now go to the next slide, which is this is the reason why. If somebody sees your one ad, it's not really going to be that effective. They'll see it, they'll forget about it. So people have to be exposed to a brand a certain number of times, and you see that ideal zone is there in that little yellow in that graph there. Somewhere between 3 to 9 is a very effective exposure. Once they've seen it, now all of a sudden you're starting to have a brand impression on people, and that's really the reason why. And again, if you're just on one platform, then you're viewed solely as somebody on that platform. Whereas if you're on multiple platforms and they're seeing you in different locations, all of a sudden now that they start to say, geez, this person or this brand has something going. It comes down to perception in some ways is reality. I'm a big fan of that.
Have you ever heard people say, "Oh, mate, you're everywhere"?
I absolutely I have, and it's very funny, because from my perspective, when you're the person creating the content, it's hard to get a good sense of what kind of exposure you're really getting, what kind of impression you're getting. But I frequently get that comment And that is very sort of reassuring to me. It's like, okay, great. Okay, good. I'm glad that
that's exactly what you want to achieve. You want to achieve this sort of omnipresence, man. Every time I turn the telly on, you're there. Every time I turn my phone on, I see a picture of you. You must be doing some stuff.
That's right. And because, as I said, this is where on a personal level, I think the truth matters. But as I said, perception is reality. And so sometimes, you see this, especially in, let's say, for politics and so forth. It doesn't matter necessarily so much whether that politician actually is true to their word and is actually reliable. The question is do people perceive them as reliable? Do they perceive them as truthful? So it's really about creating that perception. And that's really, again, the why of being on multiple platforms. So here's some questions that when it comes to so which ones should I focus on? Because again, as we've said, it's very difficult to be on all platforms. I'm certainly not. I'm not a big Twitter guy myself. That's not a platform. I have an account, and I do have posts that go out there. But this is where by maybe, and this is a real life example right here. Keith and I met through LinkedIn. He's a Twitter guy. I'm more of a LinkedIn guy. Yeah. That's where we first connected. It doesn't really matter where you first come in, but now through that, I've been invited to this event. I'm now being exposed to his audience on Twitter. So even though I'm not a big Twitter guy and I don't spend a lot of time on that platform, nonetheless, I have Keith doing shout outs to me on a regular basis. And I just come in every now and then. Oh yeah, okay, got to catch up on those, and I'll love it, and I'll make the odd comment just so that I'm not ignoring it. And now I have
is also the case. Let's pick up on the reverse. If I was dogged and had my head in the sand and says, no, I'm just doing Twitter, that's it. I only do Twitter. If I said that, then we would never have met, because it's only through our interactions on LinkedIn and other sites, but mainly LinkedIn, did we then have that subsequent conversation, which then led us back to Twitter. But it's important to be on at least 2 or 3. And you're going to help us work out which of those 2 or 3 to be on, yeah?
Yeah, and this is the thing. So, and again, think about what's going to happen after this post, right? Well, you're going to have some clips of it. I'm going to have some clips of it. I'm going to leverage it on Facebook and LinkedIn. You're going to leverage it on Twitter. And there you've got right there just a division of labor, and extent to which you're already being omnipresent and on the ones where you're strong on Twitter. So that's where that's going to be leveraged the most for you. And I'm being now exposed to your audience. And really that's a key thing. So it does come back down to leveraging those connections and to a conversation that we were having earlier with Jeff. It's leveraging those connections, identifying who are the people that are important to you. Because again, you can't respond to every single post. You can't respond to every person. But it's identifying those key audiences. So when it comes to prioritizing, these are, I think, the important questions to ask yourself. One is, which platform has the largest audiences, and we'll quickly have a quick look at which ones do. Obviously, the greater the population, the greater potential exposure. Now, knowing your audience, as Jeff was talking about earlier, is very important. So, it's great if you're great on LinkedIn, but if your entire audience is on Instagram, it's important to understand, okay, if I'm targeting, let's say, women in their, women millennials, for example, if that's what my product or service caters to, then really I should be spending a little more attention on Instagram. Which platform is most used by my future audience? Now that's another key thing.
Yeah, well,
because these things, the trend that I notice is that every generation has its own platform, and I think the logic behind this seems fairly intuitive. Kids don't want to be on the platform that their parents are on. Yep. So every generation I see seems to kind of have their own new platform. This is what the evolution, this is where Instagram was born and became so popular was exactly that. That generation of millennials did not want to be on Facebook, which was the almost the one and only sort of main social platform when I got into this game. You know, they don't want to be there, and so
because they don't want to be spied on by their parents, do they?
Well, that's precisely it. That is absolutely it. So, you know, doing a little like in hindsight, I wish I had spent a little more time on Instagram, because now that generation has come of age, and had I been putting some content out for them, well, now I would have had some brand recognition. They would have been exposed to me, as per that earlier slide. Now, which platforms have the best targeting and analytics tools? That certainly helps, because you do want to be able to analyze that.
Yeah.
And for sure, really there, I'll let the cat out of the bag and say, you know, Facebook, which owns Instagram, and Google really have a fairly strong leg up in terms of the analytics and capability to analyze your audience. And then ultimately too, again, when speaking about what are your objectives, what are you trying to achieve, and what do people use that for? And as we were talking about earlier, you know, each platform is its own animal. People behave slightly differently. So for example, somebody asked me that just today, you know, well, what's better, LinkedIn or Facebook? And it says, well, you know, they're just different animals. LinkedIn is a very sort of B2B organic networking, classic networking platform. Facebook works great for transactional advertising and targeting your audience. And then, you know, finally, you know, what are those emerging platforms? Again, that speaks to sort of point 3 about who's that target audience. So here's some numbers that are actually already slightly outdated. So a lot of these are in fact a little even higher than what's being presented here. But as you can see there, as I mentioned, you know, Facebook owns Instagram. So they've got a huge population. And what's not really represented in this slide here is Google, which is really kind of it's a very different animal, because that's a search engine more than it is a social media platform. But Google owns YouTube, which is the second most used search engine.
Yeah.
So really, there you go. And as far as, you know, who has the analytics, who has the largest audience, Facebook and Google certainly have a lot of space. But in a moment, I'm going to talk about one emerging platform, and on this graph that's here on the right, that is actually probably, in terms of the number of users, actually has snuck in already somewhere in the middle already within about a year. Well, I'll let the cat out of the bag on that one too. That's TikTok. This is the new TikTok. Is this brand new platform. It has a young teenage population. It's not my target audience yet, but I've created an account now, having learned from my past and having learned that, you know, hey, had I been on Instagram a few years back, that would have had a payoff today. TikTok is a great one. It's a very fun platform.
Is it a little bit like Vine? Is it a little bit like Vine?
Yes, it's a little bit like Vine, or it has a sort of element of Instagram, and but yeah, it's little sort of video clips, little sort of meme type videos. So you see people kind of following trends, and we'll
well, it's up to about 350 million now, isn't it?
It's about 500 million already.
Wow, so almost beating LinkedIn.
Exactly. I mean, it is absolutely taking off. I don't know. I mean, maybe you haven't seen it. One of the ones that I always thought was funny was some rapper had this song that just went, yep, nope, yep, nope. And then what people started to do is they started to take that song and they would mouth the words yep and nope, and then put words in top with it to which they were saying yes or no to.
Okay. Yep.
You know, and this became this sort of viral trend, and everybody was creating their own version.
User-generated content.
Yeah, user-generated content.
Yeah, brilliant.
So here's, you know, a decent slide, and I don't want to spend too much time on the slides.
These are good. These are very good.
Yeah. So, but these are hopefully helpful, and really, it's just something that hopefully, again, I think, you know, the audience can either, you know, have a quick look at these, stare at the screen for a little while, pause the video, have a look at it, and analyze the data for themselves. So we don't need to go too far on it. But you see how, you know, the younger the younger generations are spending a lot more time on social media. I mean, social media is where everything is. And in a way, back to the original question of, you know, why on these platforms? Well, social media and the internet has absolutely replaced traditional media. People just simply, you know, newspapers are losing their audience share. TV, I barely see anything other than car ads. They seem to be sort of the last people. And the cost of those traditional media platforms is absolutely prohibitive compared to social media and online advertising. You can technically spend not a penny and grow organic reach. So again, you know, I think that it's you see that this is the trend moving forward for sure. That, you know, and we think about it for yourselves. I mean, how are you ever really like an arm's reach away from your phone?
Yeah.
You know, for better or worse, this is crack. You know, people just absolutely are addicted to their phones. So that's an important thing to be aware of. And when I say phones, I think that's another thing to be mindful of. You know, in the early days of the internet, it was all on our computers. But really, this is the device that people are spending all of their time on. And so you need to be catering your content to appeal to that. You know, people have been saying it now for, you know, 10 to 5 years now, that mobile first.
Yeah, mobile first. Yep.
Yeah. And what do they want? And so, you know, the topic of being authentic and real has come up, and you see that what people want is honesty. And you and I have spoken about this. That's probably one of the things that I've been speaking about for years, is what I refer to as the economy of authenticity. You can call you know, there's an economy of anything, right? There's an economy of the coolness of shoes, as much as there is precious metals and everything else. So, but the point in the argument there is simply that authenticity, being real, is a currency that is appreciating in value. Now, it's also, I have to admit that, you know, as I said, I've been talking about the economy of authenticity. I've coined that phrase a few years ago, and now I find it slightly overused.
Yeah.
People as if, and I think the thing about that is because it's like it's become this buzzword. Everyone's saying, talking about authenticity as if it was a commodity to be sold, and it's not. You either are or you're not.
Yeah.
Right. So
you can't fake it. You can't bring it up. You can't learn it.
You can't learn it. You can't fake. You just, exactly. People will see right through. We are intelligent creatures, and we can kind of smell a lie from a mile away. Someone who's fake. So, you know, understanding who you are, being true to yourself, warts and all. Because, you know, again, I think sometimes people have this idea that, you know, I'll just present my best sides and never reveal my human side, and then you're unrelatable.
Yeah.
Right. So you see, it's very interesting, again, as I said, to see that, you know, how that authenticity tops the list, friendliness, helpfulness, as you were saying, you know, add value first, something that you mentioned earlier. Funny has always been an element of traditional marketing, and it gets people in. And then all the, you know, the political correctness and snarky stuff and all that stuff is sort of coming in at the bottom. Women typically on most social media platforms use it a lot more. And I don't know whether that's particularly surprising, that perhaps women are a lot more social than men. So that's something to keep in mind, but its use is fairly universal. And again, with a population of, you know, 2.3 billion users on Facebook, does it really matter that there's a huge distinction between 74% of them being women and men? I don't know that that's a huge, makes a big difference. And then in terms of their use on a daily basis, again, Facebook's still at the top of the list. And again, Google is not really represented, and that's a very, because again, here we're talking about social media platforms, but you can't underestimate the importance of search engine, search traffic. I mean, because, and the wonderful thing about search traffic, of course, is that if you're showing up on top for a particular search phrase, I mean, then you're hitting that potential consumer when they're looking for it. That's exactly when you want to be in front of them. So you can't understate that. And as I mentioned before, Google owns YouTube, and YouTube is the second most searched search engine.
Can we just pick up a little bit what you're saying there, because what you're saying is very correct. Can you briefly speak about your take on intention versus social? So when you're on social, your intention is possibly to organise the meal. Your wife might be on the train. You might be chatting to your mates. You might have caught up with someone you used to go to school with. You're organising a meal. But when you go to Google and you type in restaurants in Mentone, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that topic. So that has to factor in as a bigger play, doesn't it?
It's a huge play, and what you see as a bit of a trend now is local targeting on Google. So exactly the example that you're saying about restaurants, for example, or when people are out shopping physically and not ordering online, what's the nearest shoe shop?
Yeah.
And so again. Yeah. This is why it's very important for your business to appear, to have that listing, not just your website on Google, but be on Google Maps.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a local business, because yes, you want to come up top, and so you want to nurture that profile on Google, get reviews if you can on Google and so forth, so that you are likely to go up the rank.
And that picks up on your what you're calling omnipresence, isn't it? If you're on Google, but you're also on Facebook, and there's an ad on Twitter, and you've got a little thing on LinkedIn, and you're on Pinterest, suddenly people are saying, mate, this restaurant is everywhere. They must be firing. We've got to go.
That's right. Exactly.
It's social proof, isn't it?
It is social proof. That's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, social proof really is, and you see that now, a lot of social media platforms are starting to remove what is social proof is, the number of views and likes and comments on something. That now is if you see an ad, for example, on Facebook, but nobody's liked it, nobody's looked at it, it seems a little more suspicious. Whereas the second that you see that, oh geez, a ton of people have seen this and a ton of people have liked it, it's kind of like a referral.
Yeah.
Right? And referrals have always been a much better lead than anything you can do with advertising. Now, the problem has been that marketers have been gaming that and buying likes and buying views. And so all of a sudden that metric is no longer as valid as it was, and it's kind of killing organic reach. And so this is why certain platforms are starting to hide, not from the business itself. The business, as for analytics purposes, are able to get a sense of how many people are seeing their ad and liking it and so on. But they're removing that metric, the visibility of that metric, so that to kind of even the playing field.
Yeah, good.
And again, being aware of who's purchasing. But you see, a trend actually. That more and more, younger people are getting much more comfortable with just ordering everything through Amazon, for example, and buying online.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where, again, when we talk about, comparing, let's say, Facebook to LinkedIn, it really depends on what it is that you're trying to achieve and what that platform achieves. So, I would say if you're in e-commerce, Facebook is a very good platform to continue to advertise on. if you're a B2B and you're networking, networking and finding contacts and getting those actual real life referrals are important, LinkedIn is a great place to be. And LinkedIn is certainly a growing platform. So as I mentioned, TikTok, and so I went and dug up these metrics that I found from Alberto Orbelo, or whatever these guys are called, to give some metrics about this. So they're already at 500 million users, and as you can see, just it's the most downloaded app in 2018 and 2019 Q1, 188 million downloads of it, and ranked amongst the tops in Apple Store. And again, 41% of them are the teens, right? So it's a younger generation platform. And again, why? Because those teens didn't want to go onto Instagram.
Can I follow up with a possible question we may get from our audience, and that is that, how do you determine when some new product has reached threshold? Like TikTok has reached 500 million. That's a game changer. But there's a lot of sites that come up and they seem to go really well for about a minute and a half, and then they go away. And most people don't want to waste their time learning a site that's not going to stick around. How do you determine when a site reaches that threshold? Have you got a system for that, or have you got an internal parameter?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I wish I could give you an answer that was metrics based. But to be perfectly honest, this is what has always been the case and this is I think for most people, I think back to even just the days when I adopted Facebook. Yeah. Somebody said, "Are you on Facebook? Have you seen TikTok? Have you seen YouTube?" It's actually, for me, it really is. Yeah. It is an organic social proof is what has been my gut instinct. And then when I check it out and I see who's on it, and the other thing is, something that I found kind of interesting. So I had that same thing. I saw somebody, once I see people that I know starting to post with it, that's what it was.
Okay.
So, geez, I've now seen 2 or 3 people post TikTok videos. What is it? And I went and checked it out. And then I saw that there was a certain celebrity adoption. I saw all these videos from Howie Mandel. He's done a ton of TikTok videos on there. Okay. So, obviously, when you see influencers, celebrities using it, but for me, it's when it starts to bleed into my other platforms, because that's, it's a very interesting thing that, for example, as I said, like Twitter, I certainly, even though I'm not a big Twitter user, doesn't mean that I don't acknowledge the fact that it is absolutely huge. And what's interesting about it is that where, for example, Twitter is getting a ton of activity is people copying that Twitter post into their Facebook feed. Right? And so that's where so really it's as I said, I wish I had a more empirical approach to it, but really honestly, the truthful answer is that I know it's sort of a gut feeling of, in the same way that I say.
The reason I mention it is because you've sort of given us a little bit of a home truth, and you say, I wish I had paid more attention when Instagram was firing, because now I've lifted a tad late. And I sense that FOMO there that says, well, TikTok is going to be the next Instagram, and I don't want to be 2 years down the track thinking, I wish I had gone in early.
Yeah. One other metric that I would, or not so much metric, but strategy that I would say is to look at what are the big players, what are they doing? So, some people, for example, when Facebook purchased Instagram, and they purchased it for $2 billion or something like that, and some people said, "Oh my gosh, what an unbelievable, ridiculous price." Well, they must know something that I don't. And so a perfect example that I would use of that is that one, so here's a trend that I see when I see what big players are doing. Who are the big players, right? Google, Facebook, Amazon,
Microsoft,
Apple, right? So 2 little pieces of news came out just the other week that I said, okay, I see a trend here. So Facebook announced that they were adding a whole bunch of new health and fitness features onto their platform. In that same week, I heard that Google purchased Fitbit.
Yeah, that's a significant step, isn't it?
Right. So when I see two major players making moves in an industry like fitness, it says to me that fitness and well-being is going to be a trend in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so, unfortunately, the answer is anecdotal. It's not. I don't have strong metrics, but certainly now, when you do dig into it and you see who are the adopters, it's the young kids. They've already reached 500 million users. In America, what is it, out of 500 million monthly active users are from the USA.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Now, what's interesting too, by the way, is there's news stories because TikTok is an invention out of China, and so when you hear the press and politicians get nervous about it, that too says that there's a giant adoption rate and they're scared of it. But that tells you that there's because they're worried about being them spying.
And this picks up on your eye. This picks up fundamentally on the first slide that says, "Where are your future clients?" You're future-proofing yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So this is the big question, and I've got my slide is very similar to Jeff's of geez, how do I do it? And so really the question becomes, okay, well, how can I? Really, the name of the game is efficiency. How do I consolidate my efforts? How do I make various social media platforms work in tandem? So I have a few sort of recommendations about that. The first is going back to what I said about mobile first, right? So that's one of the problems, for example, is with a video. When we shoot most of these videos and they're in 16:9 dimensions, right? And that doesn't really play very well on a phone. It means that, for example, the 16:9, as you can see there, that's how it appears on your phone. What seems to me to be the most universal is 1:1, actually.
Square.
Right now, I mean, vertical is great for the phone, but then it doesn't necessarily look great. It doesn't work. It's not going to fit on multiple platforms. Whereas your square video is going to be quite universal on everything. It's going to look okay on a phone. It's going to look well in other places. So one of my hacks when I'm creating videos, even in 16:9, is that I actually try to make sure that the core key material and content still is in that frame, so that later on I can take that exact same video and chop off the sides, and I still have a decent video. And there's tools and ways that you can kind of do that, and that's not really part of this presentation. But as I said, basically, even when I'm shooting a 16:9 wide video, or especially with those animated videos, for example, the ones that I did even just for this event, it's a platform that only produces in 16:9 actually. But what I simply did was just make sure that all of that material was in that key frame. That doesn't mean that you can't have anything on the sides. It just means that that is sort of peripheral information that you can do without. And then I go and I take it into another software and I convert it into a square video. And now it's going to play on Instagram, right? And it's going to look pretty good on LinkedIn when you put it in a post, and it's going to look great on Facebook. So that's the one where I say, 1:1, and this is, I don't know, I haven't heard a lot of people say this, but as far as efficiency, from the game of efficiency, I tend to produce in 1:1 or make it easily transferable to 1:1.
Yeah. Well, let me pick up on where we actually met, in what space. And you taught me to use a site called Filmora, which I absolutely thoroughly recommend.
Yeah.
For the exact reason you've just said. If I make this video, which is on Zoom and in 16:9, I can chop out the sides and make it 1:1, or what I prefer 4:3. I prefer this dimensions 4:3, which look a little bit like 16:9 and halfway towards square. And it sort of plays in my sort of, Gen X desire for 16:9 because it's embedded in my DNA because I love watching movies on the telly. But that doesn't mean that that's what my clients want. So I actually go for 4:3 or 1x1. And by having software that allows you to move things around with the intention, first of all, to make content that's changeable, you can very easily switch, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. And there's a little hack in there, by the way, on Filmora, because that is absolutely one of my favorite video editing tools, is it has that split screen feature.
Yeah.
Right. So what you can do is you can take a 16:9 video, do a split screen top and bottom, put the exact same video in top and bottom, and now drag them so that they're aligned. And now you have a 1x1.
Yeah.
And you and I have spoken about this. So video is by far the most consumed format of content on the internet now. Again, as Anne-Marie said, podcasting and audio has had a huge resurgence. It hasn't been taken over. Audio is a huge thing for that sort of found time reason. But we're somewhere in the range of 70 to 80% of the content that's consumed on the web right now is video. So it's an important thing to be producing at least some. Some people don't, again, for some people it's difficult. And I'm not saying that you have to do it so long, but the thing is the cameras on these things just keep getting better and better and better. Right? You don't need actually that much sophisticated technology. It's very rare that I will invest in the expense of producing, getting a high definition cameraman and camera video and all of that stuff. When the phones do really well, and back to the point of the economy of authenticity and keeping it real, people are quite forgiving now.
Yeah.
Of quality, because it has that feel of real. People just are simply tired of those perfectly produced, perfectly curated ads because they feel like they're being sold to. So here's a list of tools that I absolutely love. And so HubSpot is a great one for as a CRM. You can get a free version of it, and it's still, even the free version has very robust features in terms of being able to collect your audience and keep track of your contacts, send out emails if you want to send emails directly from the platform, and has a number of great analytics tools. So it's a great relationship manager. And you can sync it up with a lot of other programs. So it's something that syncs quite well, even with just your Google. So for example, you can sync up your HubSpot to your Google email account. And if you install the plugin, let's say on Chrome, for it, you can actually, any contact, you send an email from your Google email address, and as long as you have that active through Chrome, it will import that contact directly into your HubSpot. It'll often actually, if it knows, what their LinkedIn profile is, it'll give you some LinkedIn connection information, and you can even track when somebody's opened your email. And so from there, that's a great little feature because once you send somebody an email, once they've opened it up, that's a great cue to maybe go and follow up with them. There's a whole slew of calendar tools, so I Calendly is a very popular one, and again, I think that's free. I used Schedule Once, which is now called Once Hub, but Buffer, Social Oomph, all of these things that you can sync up again with like a Google Calendar. And then it's a great way to just say, hey, book an appointment with me. here's the link to my calendar, and people book a call with you.
Mm-hmm.
Hootsuite is a great one for scheduling posts on multiple platforms. So that's you can have up to 30 scheduled posts, and you can blast them out to multiple platforms in one shot. And that's the other reason why I personally, one that I love is Blog to Social, because a couple of my sites are built in WordPress. It's probably the most popular website development tool. Blog to Social is a free plugin, and all of these plugins usually have an upgrade version. But the free features are very good. And so same thing, every time I write a blog post, I've connected it now. You just sort of go through the steps on it, and you add your LinkedIn profile, and you add your Facebook, and you add your Instagram. And then with a few clicks, one click, you say share to social media, you click the ones that you want to share it to. Before it blasts it out, it will show you what it's going to be sending over. It'll pull in the image from your blog post. It will give you it'll take the top few lines. You can edit those if you want to make it a little unique and a little different from what your article says to draw people in. If it's Twitter, it will cut down to the appropriate level of number of words, and boom, you can send it out to multiple platforms in one shot. And Zapier is really, as far as I'm concerned, the API of, I forget what year they really came out. They're not that old. They've only been around for a few years, but you can connect just about any platform with any platform doing anything.
Is it a little bit like IFT?
Like what?
If this, then that?
In a way, yes. Yeah. So in a way, yes, exactly. You create the rules. They're really, you go into it, and they've got a whole bunch of examples and templates to say, hey, you can connect your calendar to your HubSpot and your Google account or whatever. So you choose what it is or what platforms you're already using. This is great for businesses, who are concerned about legacy technologies. Well, you don't necessarily, doesn't mean that you have to kind of start all over from scratch. You can take Zapier and connect things in just about any way, in any configuration. You go to I just encourage people to go check out the site and look at all the potential, all the different applications. If you're using MailChimp, for example, if you're using HubSpot, if you're using whatever your CRM, Kajabi, all kinds of platforms. And you're right that it is sort of an if-then. It's like, okay, what's the flow? Okay, so people are going to come in from my Facebook ad. From that Facebook ad, I'm driving them to my page. So here's so an example of a Zap that I would use is, if I want to track something, let's say through Facebook, and I want to run an ad, and what I consider as a conversion is that they booked an appointment with
me. Yeah.
Right. So the flow of that is as follows. They come into your ad, they click the ad, they come to a page on your website. On your website has a link to your calendar booking tool. So how do I connect it? I connect it all through Zapier, right? So that calendar tool is what now connects and makes sure that that appointment that they booked now also appears in my Google Calendar. But the big trick, and this has been around for quite some time, is how do I know that they've done that? Right? I haven't. Right? How do I track that? And in particular,
where did they come from? Yeah.
Well, in particular, what you want to do if this is, because the starting point of this, right, was your ad on Facebook, and so you want Facebook and Facebook's analytics tools to tell you that, okay, yeah, you've acquired a lead. So what do is that you, on your calendar tool, once someone has booked an appointment, you often, like, for example, Once Hub has this feature where once somebody's booked an appointment with me, I can now redirect them to any page that I want. So the page that I would direct them to is simply a thank you page.
Yeah.
And that is where I would put a tracking pixel from Facebook on a unique one on that thank you page that says, if you've arrived here at this thank you page, because I don't advertise it, I don't tell anybody how to get there. The only way to have arrived at that thank you page is to have booked an appointment with me. So once they're done the whole process, now they go to my thank you page that fires the tracking pixel, and anytime that gets fired, that tells Facebook that you've acquired a lead.
Which allows you to then spend either more or less money on those ads.
Exactly. I now have a clear understanding of how effective that ad was.
Yeah. And the more effective ads you spend more money on, and the less effective ads you just simply dissipate or spend less on. And that's a business pain point, isn't it? Where do I spend my money? Where do I spend my time? What's working? What's not working?
Yeah, and that goes back to what I said earlier at the top of which of these platforms have the best analytics tools, and really that's Facebook and Google.
Good.
Meet Edgar, and by the way, I mean Facebook too has all kinds of incredible auto-generated ad features now, and you can do A/B testing. You can compare ads automatically, auto-generate. You can throw in a bunch of images, take a couple of different text variations, and you can automate this now.
Yeah.
And so it will automatically create the variations and then come back with you and tell you from the data, okay, what combination of image and text is the best.
Yeah.
And Meet Edgar is one that does that. And then there's I've listed a whole bunch of other ones here that I've kind of crowdsourced actually through other marketers. And different people like different things. And I think this is something just to I think there's a key point in that, which is this: is that sometimes people they're afraid they're like, well, what if I make the wrong choice? What if I go what if I go down the wrong path? Is this really the right software for me? And the one is really, I mean, you have to choose that yourself and know there is no right. There is no best calendar tool or best CRM or best ads manager. I think it's really a question of, okay, what am I comfortable with? Which one seems to speak to my technical competence? Which one allows me either the most freedom so that I can have more control myself, or will automate it for me? It's really about what you're most comfortable with, that speaks to your user preferences. And yes, there are tools, like I said, like Zapier, which I think is a real superstar, that just lets you connect them all.